When a crime has been committed, any good investigator will ask the question, who benefits? So who did benefit from 9/11? Larry Silverstein. This man became the leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex just a few weeks before 9/11. Silverstein faced the daunting task of having to remove the illegal asbestos that covered every steel beam in the Twin Towers. This job would have cost over $1 billion. When Silverstein took possession of the World Trade Center complex, he reworked the insurance policy on the complex to specifically cover terrorist attacks. After 9/11, Silverstein received $7 billion compensation from his insurers. That's a massive profit on his original $15 million investment. So when it comes to the question of who benefited from 9/11, on a scale of 0 to 10, Larry Silverstein scores 10. Dick Cheney still receives a multi-year deferred salary package from Halliburton, whose stock has increased considerably since the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. The arms industry. There is nothing better for the arms industry than a war. Since 9/11, billions of dollars worth of missiles and bombs have been used and had to be replaced. US oil companies. Since the 1980s, US oil interests have wanted to build an oil pipeline from the Caspian oil fields down through Afghanistan. However, the Taliban, who occupied Afghanistan at the time, refused to allow the US to build this pipeline. However, just one day after America installed its own government in Afghanistan, the contract was signed to construct the pipeline they desperately wanted. So when it comes to the question of who benefited from 9/11, on a scale of 0 to 10, the American oil companies scored 10. So the people who've been blamed for 9/11, i.e. Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda and Saddam Hussein, have gained nothing from 9/11 and lost everything as a result of 9/11. Whereas the people who pointed the finger of blame, i.e. Bush, Cheney and the Peanut Group, gained everything they had wanted as a direct result of 9/11. The same is true of the World Trade Center leaseholder, Larry Silverstein, and of course the US oil and arms companies.
Oh, it's like I've always said, follow the money and you'll find the crime.
That's right, and that was a huge crime that was committed 12 years ago.
We're here to cover the big story that mainstream news is not covering. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
And we're following those breadcrumb trails all the way to the people who benefit. This is our 9/11 special, bringing you up to date. And we're going to start things off right here.
We're going to stake our first shovelful into the rabbit hole.
Okay, here we go. Check out this clip.
So if 9/11 was really an inside job, then who are the people inside that did it? Well, we can start by looking at some of the people inside the buildings that were targeted and destroyed on 9/11. In the impact zone of the North Tower was a company called MARSH and MCLENNAN, which at the time was the world's largest insurance brokerage company. One of MARSH's executives was a guy named L. Paul Bremer, who was also the chairman of the Congressional National Commission on Terrorism from 1999 to 2000, and the U.S. ambassador at large for counterterrorism from 1986 to 1989. Instead of going to work on the day of 9/11 and dying inside the towers with hundreds of his employees, Bremer decided to go on MSNBC and tell the world that Osama bin Laden was behind the attacks and possibly Iraq and Iran, and then he demanded
the most severe military response we can come up with.
L. Paul Bremer was called away from MARSH in 2003 to become the Iraq occupation governor, a role he has been widely criticized for. So Bremer not only worked inside the buildings, but had offices directly in the impact zone of the South Tower where Flight 175 would hit. He missed work on 9/11 to give us the official story on national television, and went on to be the Iraq occupation governor. You really can't get more connected to 9/11 than that. Oh wait, you can, sorry. I forgot to mention that Bremer was also the former manager for Kissinger Associates. He was a member of the board for Akzo Nobel, the parent of International Paint Company, which produced a fireproofing application for skyscrapers called Interchar. Bremer was also on the International Advisory Board for the Japanese mining and machinery company Komatsu, which at the time had been involved in a joint venture agreement with Dresser Industries, the oil services intelligence front where Prescott Bush Sr. and George H.W. Bush got their start with Neil Mallon. Anyway, the Komatsu Dresser mining division operated from 1988 to 1997, and in July 1996 it patented a nanothermite demolition device that could, quote, demolish a concrete structure at high efficiency while preventing a secondary problem due to noise, flying chips, and dust.
So that last part, and he says thermite that would suppress the noise.
Yes, they patented it.
Because I always wondered when they were demolishing that, where was the noise from all of the explosions, right?
Well, it's just a coincidence, though.
This all started with an amazing special called Loose Change way back when, and it has evolved into the most amount of information that you can shake the internet with. So, let's shake up the internet.
Shall we dig a little deeper?
I think we should dig a little bit deeper, so get my king-size pitchfork out, and here we go into the realm of reality. Remember, we're not conspiracy theorists. We're just a couple guys with the internet. You're listening to Radio Free Canada.
Who ran security for these buildings? Marvin Bush's company Securacom Stratesec did, up until 1998 when that role was handed off to Kroll Associates. Yet Stratesec still retained security contracts that didn't expire until the day of 9/11. Both these companies have a suspicious cast of characters working for them. Bush's cousin Wirt Dexter Walker III was the CEO of Stratesec with a long history as a manager for CIA front companies such as Glor Forgan. The corporate operating officer of Stratesec was a guy named Barry McDaniel, who came from BDM International, where he was a vice president of material distribution and management systems. He also had a history of involvement with black projects. Securacom Stratesec also ran security at Dulles International Airport, where Flight 77 into the Pentagon was hijacked out of, and also had contracts with United Airlines. They also ran security at Los Alamos National Laboratories during the time period that nanothermite was first being developed there. Then there's Kroll Associates, also known as the CIA of Wall Street. Kroll's managing director was a guy named Jerome Hauer, who, like L. Paul Bremer, survived the 9/11 attacks by going on national television to give us the first accounts of the official story. Before anyone knew it was happening, these guys apparently had it all figured out. In addition to being managing director for Kroll, Jerome Hauer was the national security advisor with the National Institute of Health, which managed the government response to the anthrax attacks shortly after 9/11. On the day of 9/11, Hauer advised the White House to start taking Cipro, an antibiotic effective against anthrax, and then strangely a week later, 2 senators and several people in the media who had been calling for an investigation into the 9/11 attacks were mailed anthrax and told to shut up, apparently by members of Al-Qaeda, who later turned out to be a bioweapons researcher at U.S. AMRID in Fort Detrick, Maryland, named Stephen Hatfill, who had worked with Jerome Hauer for a company called SAIC. A few other names and companies inside the Twin Towers also worthy of further investigation include Craig Stapleton, who is married to Bush's cousin Dorothy Walker Bush. Stapleton was the president of Marsh Real Estate Advisors from 1982 to 2001. He was a member of the board of directors for Sendant, that was charged with massive accounting fraud in 1998, and went on to join Winston Partners, a privately owned investment firm founded in 1993 and led by George W. Bush's brother Marvin. Other very powerful and well-connected people worked in senior management at Marsh. These included Stephen Friedman, a senior principal at Marsh Capital and former partner at Goldman Sachs, who later became George W. Bush's top economic advisor. Friedman was also a member of the Brookings Institution, the Bilderberg Group, the Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board, and the board at InQtel, the investment firm founded by the CIA in 1998. InQtel invests in state-of-the-art technologies related to defense and intelligence work, including nano and chemical technologies, according to its website. Jeffrey Greenberg resigned from Marsh & McLennan after being accused of serious financial crimes. The first plane of 9/11 flew directly into his company's secure computer room in the North Tower. Jeffrey Greenberg is a member of the Brookings Institution and the Trilateral Commission. Jeffrey Greenberg rose quickly through management at Marsh, having come there directly from AIG in 1995, and then becoming CEO just 4 years later. At Brookings, Greenberg hobnobbed with Lee Hamilton, co-chair of the 9/11 Commission.
But of course, there's no conspiracy here.
Oh, no, it's all coincidence.
It is. It's just a quinky-dink that it just so happened that these guys had, and made benefit from.
And deep ties to the undercover agencies.
Yeah. And
black ops.
Uh-huh. And the internal security for, Wall Street. Okay, that's just weird, okay? Creepy and weird. But let's go all the way back to Silverstein, okay?
Okay.
And I had no idea that $1 billion asbestos removal program was projected for the Twin Towers.
Yeah, people wondered why he bought the World Trade Center because of the asbestos problems.
And one of the other things that really got me was the fact that about 5 years before that, New York was getting declared a disaster zone because their infrastructure could not be repaired using the local or state economy of New York. They expected that they had a $50 billion infrastructure bill that was coming up for their sewer and electrical systems, and then it just so happens.
Yeah, well, it's just a coincidence, though, right? There's no conspiracy. No.
It's not like the federal government stepped in with $50 billion to fix the New York infrastructure directly after that.
No.
Then I could say, what about Detroit? Maybe
Yeah.
they could get some planes to hit a...
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
I'm not even going to
I'm
suggest
not going to
such a
advocate
thing.
that.
Okay, we got another clip here, though. Okay, so we really do urge that you go out and you check our facts because, hey, we're not major news. We don't say the words, trust us. We don't have to. What do you got, brother?
Well, you remember that passport that they found?
Oh, wait a second. The fireproof passport.
Yeah,
The one that...
it's like the magic bullet.
Okay, let's check out this magic bullet.
Donna, when these buildings came crashing down on Tuesday, they sent debris showering in several blocks in every direction. And it was in one of those areas a couple of blocks away from the World Trade Center site, apparently where that passport was found. The FBI announcing that it has found the passport of one of the hijackers who was on board one of those two planes that hit the Twin Towers on Tuesday morning. They then mounted an intensive search in that area for more evidence, and those kinds of searches continue at this hour.
There's evidence of the things that are being collected from the World Trade Center on the ground, and you don't accept that again, do you?
His passport. Do you accept that? They're finding the passport beneath the towers before the collapse. So you think that the hijacker, flying at 960 miles per hour, tells his co-pilot a few seconds before impact, I just have to pull out my passport. He's rolling down the window, throwing out the passport, and it is accidentally just found on the sidewalks. Is that the story you accept?
So the passport was planted?
I asked you, is this a story you accept, or do you think that the passport survived the blast of the jet fuel and flew out through the flames and landed on the sidewalks? This is what you believe? Are you serious?
Yes.
You are? Okay.
I think, well, that's the official account. Is that not the official account?
Well, if you accept the official account, we disagree. I beg to differ.
We stand in awe. And I mean, absolute awe. Now, remember, they found a passport, okay, right there where they didn't find black boxes. They couldn't find hard drives to computers that had billions of dollars attached to them.
They couldn't even find the engines of the planes. But they found this magic passport. Maybe they should have built the black boxes out of the paper they use for those passports.
There you go, brother. Hey, we've solved some real security issues here.
And weren't those passports issued by the United States consulate in Saudi Arabia?
I know.
Oh, no, that was the visas.
No. Don't bring up facts like that. If you keep bringing up facts like that, we're going to end up on a CIA watch list. Oh, wait a second.
Too late. I think we're too late on that.
Darn it. You know, we try to keep a positive attitude towards this. We do realize 9/11 was a bit of a tragedy, but the official story has become so asinine, okay?
It's worse than any conspiracy theory I ever heard.
The only thing that comes close to it is the JFK magic bullet, okay?
Yeah.
The one bullet that hit him 4 times, right? But make sure you do check our facts. We've got 2 more segments coming up right now. What do we got coming up here?
Well, we're going to talk about legitimate 9/11 suspects. We're going to talk about the impossible flight characteristics of the plane that hit the Pentagon.
And then we're going
a whole bunch of other stuff that'll make your head swim.
But once again, make sure you check our facts, do the investigation, and please don't be a sheeple. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
Come right back. We've got it more on 9/11 and the actual stuff that's going on right here. You're with Radio Free Canada.